Hello there. This is Anthony with the Dragons of Victory. So, the first order of business is to promote a conference. I won't be able to attend it, but if you are in the area of Belgrade, Montana, this is the Trad Recovery, or it's called Catholics and Communion Conference, hosted by Trad Recovery, which is run by Laura Van Voss, aka Miss Happy Catholic. And this will be from July 25th to July 27th. Um, I would go definitely if I was able to. And if you're in that area, you should attend, even if you're not a Catholic, I would say, because like I've said for a while now, the Dragons of Victory is not about being anti-Catholic. I'm not Catholic for a reason. I just don't think it's true. And I think you should live as honestly as you can and behave um, as much as possible in accords with how you see reality. And I just felt like it would be too dishonest of me to continue on when I just don't believe that many things the church teaches. That is not to say, of course, there's not beautiful things within it, and obviously because it, nobody would be a part of it, and nobody would be a part of any religion. That's why I don't at all think that religion is bad in and of itself because it feeds a very, very primal urge, the urge for security. That's why I've got a roof over my head right now. Uh, we need shelter, and religion is a kind of existential shelter, and that is not to diminish it at all, because a lot of people assume that that's a negative thing. Like that's dismissive of it. It's like, oh, it's just a cheap way to avoid confronting death. No, because um, it's the most effective way. It's the most effective way to avoid cheating death and or what I meant to say was to avoid confronting death or not confronting the reality of it. Because as far as I can tell right now, the reality of it is it's just lights out. And that's something that's not easy to deal with, and I'm still trying to figure out how. But so all that to say, all that hullabaloo to say, I want that back to a large degree. That anchor, that security, that feeling of that the universe is that there's meaning and mechanism behind it, and it's aware of me and it loves me. Man, that's such a compelling, comforting idea. I wish it was true, and I hope it still is. But the problem is, of course, is that when you get into the issue with cults and everything, it gets that positive desire and that for anchoring, for meaning, for community, which is essential to, I think, a flourishing human life. Um, you get that gets mixed in with the need for structure of some sort, and that presents the need for authority, and power corrupts, and ultimate absolute power corrupts absolutely. And religious leaders, to one degree or another, but pretty much invariably have unlimited power. Um, I guess you can't have a degree of unlimited. Unlimited is unlimited, but pretty much across the board, religious leaders have far more control and power over people that I think is ultimately good or healthy for any individual to have, you know? Not even going to get into actual political stuff too much. I mean, I'm a political independent. I have kind of a laissez-faire, kind of live and let live, libertarian-ish attitude, you could say. But obviously, there needs to be some structure in the world, and religious foundation needs to be structured and organized to some degree. But the more and more you get into that, the more exploitative it'll ultimately become. And the more drunk with power their leaders will get, and the more they feel like they can do whatever they want because of, I mean, they have a divine connection, which justifies any justifies any kind of behavior. The kind of self-righteousness that that can give you is pretty damn dangerous. And so all that to say, um, to anyone who is still as a former traditional Catholic but is remaining a Catholic, more power to you. I was in the exact same spot, and I don't want you to lose your faith. I think that the fact that that you have left traditional Catholicism is a clear indication that you are. I would say it's a clear indication that you're using your faith in a more positive, healthy way, because you recognize the toxic dangers that the toxic environment and the dangers within traditional Catholicism. So support Miss Happy Catholic, support Laura, and support the conference and support Trad Recovery, and attend if you can. And I'm in touch with Laura. We've talked on the phone, we've emailed. There's definitely intention for her to come on the Dragons of Victory and for us to have a conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. Whenever that happens. Also, the other day I posted on the community page a recent news article about um, a traditional Catholic parish in New Zealand that was just shut down by the Vatican for spiritual and psychological abuse. I looked through. I couldn't. I could have missed it, but I didn't see anything that explicitly talked about the kind of sexual abuse that is so uh, well known about within the Catholic clergy. But definitely, what the abuse that was described of spiritual and psychological abuse very much mirrors my own experience at with the FSSP priests. Um, One girl that was in part of this New Zealand parish started cutting herself. I don't know if it was explicitly said the priest told her to. I think that she started cutting herself as a result of the the training she was receiving and the mindset of thinking that penance is what God wants, and God wants you to be in pain. So, if you really, really believe that and take that seriously, then the behavior of cutting yourself or self-harm, self-injury, anything that would make any parent obviously immediately give their child help. It would be extremely um, horrifying and disturbing. That can be made or rationalized very, very conceivably into making sense in the framework of traditional Catholic penance, because it's exactly, I didn't cut myself. But I was told to kneel on my fingers to expel sexual thoughts. And it got to the point where I was like slamming doors on my fingers or scratching myself or banging my head against the wall. I would get so guilty and so upset that I would, engage in these activities of physically harming myself. And to anyone, I am, to those out there concerned by what I just said. I am so far past. I'm so far ahead that point. I've healed so much. So many things have helped me. My parents' support, you guys' support, just talking about this, airing all this stuff. I've come so far, and all that stuff is so far in the rearview mirror, but it's not for many other people, and that's why I'm doing this still. I said earlier there's a endpoint down the road somewhere. I don't know where that is yet. I don't know what that looks like or how I get there yet. But I'm just going to keep on trucking in the meantime. But you can read in this article or see in news reports about this shut down New Zealand parish, about this girl cutting herself. Self-harm and penance. The idea of penance that's presented within traditional Catholicism. The line's so blurry it's almost not there at all. And many of the culture there is not, because it's so dismissive of it's not like as anti-psychiatry as say Scientology, but they are generally dismissive of mental health and medical field because they might say that something they consider a sin is not. And so many priests, especially trad ones, consider themselves psychologists or therapists too. They'll engage in kind of, so often for me, their confession would turn into a therapy session. They're trying to counsel you, right? But especially within traditional Catholicism, they're filling your head when you're a child with self-harm, self-destructive crap. They're reinforcing the idea that God wants you to be in pain, that God wants you to hurt yourself. When you're very young, they're reinforcing those ideas to you constantly. So obviously, children are going to, start cutting themselves like this girl did. They're going to start doing things I did. I want that bullshit to stop. And that's why I'm speaking out. I want it to, any sort of, I'm not expecting a whole bunch of people. It'd be great if it happened, but I'm not expecting any of this to have the effect of bringing a whole bunch of people out of traditional Catholicism. I'm just trying to get this out there more as much as possible because I just have learned the fact that I'm still unraveling. I mean, like I definitely come a long way. I've definitely healed very much. Not 100%. I'm working on it. And so many people have had are so much farther behind in their own journey than I am. And it took me so long to start talking about this because of the, it's difficult, obviously, to because this is some of the worst things that's ever happened to you, to constantly go over this and discuss it, and relive it. But I've really healed, and part of my healing is the work to get the message out there that this is unacceptable behavior, and it needs to be called out and it needs to be addressed far more than it's been so far. Vatican has taken very, very good, encouraging action in recent years, especially in recent months, and I hope they go on the trajectory they're on. So that's about it. I'm sure leave more wise, insightful, thoughtful comments like you did in the last video. So, just I commend you all um, for your intelligent, thoughtful, nuanced discourse in my last video, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of that. Hope you fly away to victory.